In this video, I'm going to show you how to cut and fold the Kirigami pattern RES Square Star, designed by Yoshinobu Miyamoto. This is the finished model, and as you can see, it's very three-dimensional, and if you completely flatten it down, you can see that you only added cuts, but you did not remove any paper. And of course, you can erect it again, like this. The tools I'll use are a cutting mat, a razor knife, and a metal ruler for all of the cuts. A bone folder for strengthening the creases, although you could also use your thumbnail or just something else that's flat and hard. Then a paper piercing tool, and if you don't have one of those, you probably have a sewing pin, and you can use that instead to pierce the paper. And an embossing stylus, and here you could use an empty pen so that there's no ink left in it, and that works just as well. Now I'm going to be using some printer paper weighing 220 GSM, so quite a bit heavier than usual printer paper. And of course, we also need our pattern, which you can download on happyfolding.com and print. I'm going to be using the tape to fasten that sheet of paper with the pattern onto my model sheet to transfer the pattern onto my clean sheet. But for your first attempt, I definitely recommend that you print that pattern onto the model sheet. I will show you how to get this clean finish without the print lines, but it's a bit more difficult. So for your first try, you can skip the first step of taping the pattern sheet onto the model sheet. Once that's secured so that it doesn't move while we're working, I'm going to take that piercing tool and pierce the paper on each of these ends of these cut and crease lines. I like to go around in a specific pattern so that I don't miss any. So I like to pierce these three here all the way around, and then the corners of this square right here, and notice how I'm holding that piercing tool perpendicular to the sheet so that it's exactly straight, so that the hole we're piercing goes through the paper straight too, and go around until you reach the center. Now that you have pierced all of these vertices, we're going to cut along these outer cut lines. And I'm just going to do a simple square rather than this rounded square, and you can use whatever shape you like. While cutting, do always be careful. Orient the ruler and the paper so that you can work comfortably, because safety comes first, and these razor knives are extremely sharp. Then you can take that square out and discard this sheet and separate the two sheets. Now, if you have the pattern printed on, it's quite easy to see where you need to cut and where to score, because you have these red solid lines and the dashed blue lines for cutting and for scoring. If you don't though, I recommend you keep this as a reference to always double check where you have to work next. Remember, you cannot take back cuts, and if one cut is wrong, you have to start all over. So be careful, work slowly, and double check what you're doing. Now, piercing the paper had two functions. It was to transfer the pattern to our clean model sheet, but also to help improve the precision of our cuts. That's because of these small holes, we can use our cutting knife to feel that difference in height, to start the crease in the right point, and also to finish it when we're supposed to stop. So I'm just going to look at this, and the first cuts I'm going to do are these two for that angle, and then rotate the sheet and then do these cuts, and so on, so that I have these for angles, and then I'm going to go inside, do the next set, and then the last set. You can do whatever order you like, just be sure to find a process that you feel comfortable with. Now, once you have all your cut lines in there, double check that all the corners are cut completely, and if not, extend your creases so that they are. For me, it's all okay, and you can already see we can move this slightly. So now we're going to add score lines wherever we have these dashed blue lines. I like to start with these ones right here, and this one is a point where we have the end of one of the cut lines, and this end we marked by piercing the paper. I like to go over the section multiple times, always in the same direction, so that the paper doesn't tear as easily. Now I want to show you the back, and if you look very closely, you should see that the paper is weaker in that spot. And if we start to fold this, it will go along that line. And this is the strength of the scoring that we want. But now we're going to continue with scoring the rest of these blue score lines. I'm next going to connect these and these, always the ones next to that cut line. Once you've done all of those, you can then do that same set just on the smaller section within. And then on the final third set of these creases. And then we have all our score lines. And from behind you should be able to see those score lines too. But we want to strengthen them further. For this I'm going to take my ruler and my bone folder, and I'm always going to put the ruler onto or just right next to the score line and then add a crease. Now it's quite easy to bend the paper too far. That's why I like to take that ruler and put the end of the ruler right where that crease line that I want to strengthen ends, so that it doesn't tempt me to bend the paper over too much. So I'm orienting it on this score line right here, which is between these two cut lines. And I'm going to orient it so that the ruler ends there, and then I'm going to take this paper and lift it up, and here I like to use my bone folder and go against it to strengthen that crease. So you can see it's a lot stronger now. And I do that with all of the score lines. Now on these narrow strips, I actually, just for that inside part, like to use something thinner than my bone folder. So just for the inside, I like to go in here and use my embossing stylus to strengthen the crease inside there. Finally, and very importantly, we have to strengthen these small short creases, and I actually prefer doing this from the back and just pinching them with my fingers. And now, as a final step, we can erect the structure. For this, just lift it up and enforce those creases, those short creases that we did in the end, and then also fold along these long creases and the shorter ones next to it. And then you can twist this and ensure that all of the creases are standing up, and you have your first level raised. And then you can go on to the next one. Again, strengthen those short crease lines, then these angles, just pinching them in place. Because of the work we did to prepare these, it's relatively easy to get precision without being extremely careful. So now we have that second level raised. And now we go on to the third one. Again, twist it, strengthening those short creases, and then make the other creases perpendicular to the sheet to strengthen those and completely erect your square star. And there we have it. That's your RES square star designed by Yoshinobu Miyamoto, all done. Now, if you like this pattern, I have some other patterns available for download too on my website, so you can try those out. It's always the same process, always cut, score, strengthen, and erect. Now, if you liked this video, do let me know by giving it a thumbs up, commenting below, and sharing it with others. I'm especially keen to hear whether you like Kirigami tutorials too. And if you want an in-depth workshop, Yoshinobu Miyamoto is holding an extended workshop in Hamburg this September 2017, so do check that out. And if you need extra inspiration, check out his Flickr stream, which features a lot of his other stunning work there. And now that you've tried out some kirigami, how about you watch one of my origami tutorials next? Subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss my next videos. And finally, check out my website happyfolding.com for more origami and a little kirigami content. I hope to see you around, and as always, happy folding!